When you first had your child, was there any anxiety of like my career, or were you not in comedy?
No, I wasn't in comedy at that point.
Yeah,
I wasn't in comedy, and there wasn't any anxiety. I grew up with my sister's kids, so they were young. So I at 10 years old, I was changing diapers, like helping to change diapers, and like dealing with kids. So all that stuff was pretty easy. Once I started doing comedy, I maybe 3 years in, I started thinking about the fact that I don't want to go on the road. Like I want to go on the road like a little bit, but I can't. That's why I've been patient.
Yeah.
I had to practice a lot of patience. This is another Gary Vee.
I'm gonna have to get it. Like
you gotta just listen to his podcast.
Like because people have made so many jokes about him, and I listened to Tim Dillon. Like I thought he was like a total lunatic, but now I'm actually convinced to like.
No, he's really the things he talks about is very a lot of the stuff is about entrepreneurship and money, but really he's talking about the person and being patient with things. Like he was patient in his situation. His family had like a liquor store, and he worked there as a young man. Yeah. And while all his friends were partying and going down the shore, he was putting in hours working because he had goals. But anyway, patience in like my development, right? So that in 3 years and 5 years as a comic, you ain't shit, like you're just not. Your jokes aren't that funny, even as you're making people laugh, you're really not that funny. Like the professional comedians are at another level.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It takes you so long to get there. And so like my patience is, I'm going to enjoy this time with my daughter and be there for everything I can be, knowing that later on, once she's older, then I have like then when I will have that time to go on the road, like I'll be at the point where it's going to mean something.
I've actually thought of that too. Like in hindsight, I thought about like people always say, oh, kids wait to have kids because you need your career. It's like, no, dude, you should have had the kids when you were like 15.
Bang them out early. Yeah, Puerto Ricans know how to do it.
Because then, like, I mean, the problem with that is then you'll end up with the wrong person. Like if you get married and have kids too young, you're gonna be growing apart. Like by the time you're 25, 30. Mm-hmm. How old were you when you got married?
I was 29, I think.
Oh, I guess that's a decent age. It's not. I wouldn't consider that too young or anything like that. How old are you?
Yeah, I'm 40.
You're 40? Look at this guy. He's 40 years old. Look at him.
Look at this. Look at this hair.
That's it's the Latino genes is what it is. Wait, so you work out? Mm-hmm. You said you're a fitness guy. Yeah, you really look young. Like I thought you were my age. Like I thought you were. I mean, I'm not really that young anymore. I shouldn't say like, oh, my age. I'm 34. But you look like 29. Like you look like 29, 30.
Like
you don't.
That.
Do you
You're
get
my
that
best
a lot?
friend now? Yeah, I do. I do.
What do you like? So you work out? Do you eat a particular diet? Or?
Nah, my diet is terrible. I'm trying to like change that. I'm trying. My problem with my diet is
I was going to offer
candy.
you apple pie. I have a big apple pie.
Oh, I'll eat apple pie for sure. That's my problem is sweets. Like
maybe I shouldn't have said that.
Right before Halloween, I almost went into like a diabetic shock because we had a Halloween like party at my job, and they ordered pizzas and sandwiches, and it's like on a long buffet. Yeah. So because I work like at a big glass fabricator, and so it's like a huge warehouse. There's like 200 employees, so we're all on this line, on this buffet line, and at the end of the buffet line is all these pumpkins with candy in them. And I get to every single I went to every single pumpkin, and at every single pumpkin I acted like I didn't know there was Kit Kats and Reese's. I'm like, oh, Kit Kats, Reese's, this is nice. I'm like, oh, Kit Kats and Reese's, this is great. Oh, look what they have here, Kit Kats, and like for every single one. And I went upstairs with so much chocolate, and then I had the pizza, and then I ate all of the chocolate. I didn't save any. Like, there wasn't anything like you just put some in my desk for later. No, I ate it all. And I went home and went to sleep. And I remember feeling so lightheaded. I'm like, I'm not 18 anymore. I can't eat like this.
Yeah.
You know, like it's catching up with me.
I have some issues sometimes with overeating myself. Like, you wouldn't think so because I work out and everything like that, but there's a reason why I work out so much. It's because like I know I need to tame myself because like I can go crazy with food. You know
you post some nice meals.
Yeah.
I look at sometimes your meals I look at, I'm like, look at this fucking plate looks so put together. And you cook your own food and stuff?
I cook most of my own food, yeah. But like I go out and I'm not like I try to eat and cook healthy things, but I'm not always like I'll get a bit, like I can eat a fucking pint of ice cream like by myself. Like last night I had popcorn. I had the whole bag of popcorn. So like I wouldn't say a sweet tooth. Like the only sweet I really eat is ice cream, but like just like I eat large quantities of food. I just eat like a lot of.
You ever watch those mukbang videos online?
No.
Oh my god!
What is that?
I'll show you some videos after this. It's mukbang is like in Asia and China and stuff like that. They make these videos where they eat these large portions of food and on a stream. And they eat, and then there's
I think I've heard of stuff like that.
Yeah, and then there's American mukbangs that do it. These fitness guys, where they do intermittent fasting. Yeah. So they don't eat all day, and then at like 1 o'clock in the morning or 12 o'clock in the morning, they'll eat like these crazy meals. I'm gonna show you some of these videos. You're gonna lose your mind. After this, you're gonna be like, I can't believe these people. But then they eat balanced, but then they do one of these meals for like content.
I think I watched a YouTube like conspiracy theory video where they're like, these people are prisoners being like forced to do these like being forced to do these tricks for like YouTube. Like they're like, and they like analyze the YouTube video. They're like, watch in the back. There's a guy telling her, do it, eat it.
You never know.
Yeah.
What they do. I mean, it's just with the TikTok alone. It's crazy.
See, like that. I had questions about like technology. That's one form of technology that I can't get behind.
It's good.
Like I consider myself like a positive enthusiast. Like I try not to look at the downside of everything. I try to like find the positive spin of things. Like I see good, like as much as social media could be a negative thing for mental health, I also see the good in it. I can't get behind TikTok. There's nothing I can't find the good in TikTok.
Let me tell you something. This isn't a conspiracy. This is like this is really crazy about TikTok, and it's done by design. TikTok is owned by a company called ByteDance or something like that, or something Byte. And in China, that app and over there, it like for kids, you can't use it for more than 45 minutes, right? And when you do use it, their algorithm puts science, like all the STEM categories up at top. They put like astronaut things. They put like all these like educational stuff, educational videos, and this promotes that. And in China, when you ask kids the number one thing that they want to be when they grow up, it's an astronaut, right? Yeah. Now in the US, the app is completely different, and it promotes stupid dances. It promotes goofy pranks. It promotes like all those stupid dance videos and stuff. And in America, you ask kids, what's the number one thing you want to be when you grow up? And it's influencer. Yeah. So now you take that and you spread that growth over 10 years. And what do you think the people in China are going to be versus the people in the US are going to be? So like, there's and it's also a security risk because of the malware that they put in it, and like their ability to take TikTok. The TikTok app can manipulate your phone, and they've used it to find like Chinese dissidents in America. Like they use it to try to track like Chinese nationals and stuff, and they could like use it to track other people. It's so wild. Crazy. Yeah. That app is really. That app is really bad. When you talk about social media, I deleted it off my phone. More TikTok? So just because like when I the security risk and stuff, Instagram and Facebook, I deleted Facebook too because the app just has like these has the crazy ability to do things on your phone that, That
was funny. That was actually one of my questions on the podcast was like, the podcast questions that I had here was like, social media, we're clearly now waking up to the fact that it's not good for us. And my question is, do you think that it's designed to keep people hooked, and there's like a major, I don't want to say conspiracy, but like there's a plan behind everything?
Yeah.
Or do you think it's just we're the idiots that don't know how to use it correctly?
I think I think we're learning. I think it's like we're idiots that don't know how to use it. But I also think that I think the government and the intelligence agencies take advantage of things. And like with TV and radio, when that came out, they came out with the CIA has Operation Mockingbird. Like that's a declassified operation where they put people inside the TV companies, like CIA agents and stuff, to be able to manipulate and spread propaganda. And I think the same thing happened with social media, where
it's like it's almost as if like it started with humans and then they caught on and was like, oh, these humans want this negative shit, let's make money off of it and keep getting them to do more. It's like it started with us, but then they fed it. They tried to hijack it, but I think it goes both ways. This is why I think it's not such a conspiracy where it's planned, because it also swings the other way, where we have so much more information that the older generations don't have. And you can see when I talk to my mom or something, I can see just based on the way she sees a news story, I can see the manipulation in it. Whereas if you when you're looking online, you see all these different perspectives and you get all this other information. Like just now, she asked me about the Colorado shooter. She's like, I was talking to her on the way down here, and she's like, did you see the news, that Colorado shooter? It's so crazy. I was like, yeah, I know. Isn't it crazy that last year they had arrested him for first-degree kidnapping and felony menacing, and they didn't prosecute him? And like that would have been a sentence where he would have been in jail now, as opposed to being on the street, and now he's doing a mass shooting. And she's like, well, I didn't know that. Where'd you hear that? I'm like, on the internet. They didn't say it on the news. Of course not, because they don't want you to like think that way. It's weird, the manipulation. And then you see it with like with all the COVID lockdowns and everything, the manipulation of information, the way they wanted to compartmentalize information. They didn't want anybody else to have any kind of discussions about anything. Where do you stand on like the political spectrum? I lean like libertarian, where I don't I'm very fearful of like big government, and the more power we give the government, the more I feel like it just is used to manipulate us and to prop up billionaires and their friends, and but I also don't want to be attached. I'm more independent. Like I don't want to be just a libertarian, like I have a libertarian philosophy. I believe in the main part of libertarianism is the principle of non-aggression. Like I think we can do things without having to force people. Like whenever you pass a law, that's a threat of force, right? Because if you don't abide by it, then somebody with guns comes to you and they drag you out of your house, and if you don't comply, they kill you. So like everything that is done is under a threat of force. So I believe more in people, that if we got together more and worked locally, we could probably affect more change than trying to do things like on a national level. Are you big into politics in general? I got into it. Funny thing is through conspiracy theories. I had lost my job. Like, I think it was like 08. I lost my job, like 08, 09. I had lost my job, and I was unemployed for like 6 months. So while searching for jobs online, I start watching these YouTube videos, and it started with Ron Paul videos. And I was watching the Ron Paul debate videos, and I was like, the things that he's saying, I was like, man, it makes so much sense. And then I started reading about free market economics and libertarianism and the principles of non-aggression. And I was like, this stuff makes so much sense. Like I feel like life would be so much better this way. And then I got into the conspiracies, like
go back to like JFK, and then from there, and I'm like, oh, these people took over the government. Like it's like a gang that they did a hit like the mafia. They like when they killed Castellano in New York City, and John Gotti took over, and it was like the one regime was there, and they killed him, and then they put these gangsters in, and then they've been in control ever since. And it's just, then you get into like the occult aspect of it, and Satan is worshiping, and they, I don't know if you ever heard of Bohemian Grove.
No.
Oh, Bohemian Grove is this thing in California where Alex Jones actually broke it. He went in there undercover with the camera, and there were all these high-powered like celebrities and political figures, and they were dressed in robes, and they were doing chants, and they sacrificed a wooden effigy I think it's called, of a child to the god Moloch, which is like ancient pagan like occultism. And it's like, why are these people doing this? You know what I mean? Like, it makes you think about like secret societies and shit.
Did you ever get into like the QAnon stuff?
I did in the beginning. It was really interesting, and then I was like, this is like, what turned me off to it wasn't what like the actual drops were, because QAnon was just a whole bunch of drops where he was like releasing things. It was the people and the way they were reacting to it. And I was like, these people are in a cult. It just became a cult. I was like, this is weird.
I couldn't get behind it because I was just like, I had a friend in particular who was into it, and she showed me some, just like the way she described it to me. She's like, Andrea, she's like, listen, she's like, there's different sides of politics. Some people tell you this, and some people will tell you this, and then there's the truth. And like
that's the thing. Like they just really believe it.
Yeah.
So
and then
hard.
I was like, and then like once she introduced it to me like that, I was like, I already know this is gonna be a bunch of bullshit, because like if you're telling me like yours is the truth, it's
like
fact. It's yours, like, you know what I mean, like you're
irrefutable.
Your theory must be the truth. And then I was just like, this is a bunch of bullshit. And then she showed me some like videos and stuff like that, and you can tell it was like some news site for the followers of this thing. I can't remember what it was called, but just like the way that the person carried like their voice on the podcast or whatever the hell it was, like news site or podcast. It was like on YouTube. This like it sounded like they were telling children. It was like very theatrical. It was like they were telling children's stories. It was like, listen now, boys and girls.
And
it was like,
fear.
how do you not? Yes.
Like they're doing the same thing that the news does, and they hit you with fear, make you scared, and then they're like, we've got this vitamin that you should buy if you want to support this channel. Like, and it's like, oh, it's a fucking grift, you know, like. But it's where I stood with it was like, all right, it's possible. Because when you look at like the Epstein shit, and the guy had a fucking island, a pedophile island, where they used to bring elite people like Bill Clinton and Bill Gates and Chris Tucker, and like all these people to this island to fuck underage girls. It's like, all right, then, and it was like a honeypot scheme where they would set you up in this position, and then they would get videos of you and pictures of you. Now they own you, and like when you go to Jeffrey Epstein's house, right over his front. In the entryway of his house, he had this huge painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress, like Monica Lewinsky's blue dress, with his things tied. It's like, oh yeah, because you owned him. Yeah, you know what I mean? Because he was on your fucking island and fucking kids, and then his story alone is like a huge thing where you're like, fuck, man, if that's happening, like what else could be possible? And then if you're like in your own desolate helplessness, it's easy for you to latch onto that, and then it gives you, number one, it gives you an identity because you're part of this group of people, right? And then it gives you like the secret information I
also found like, I found this very interesting. I saw a correlation between people who were into that theory and religious people, which I found fascinating. Like, I don't know why. I don't know if it
second coming of Christ. JFK is coming back from the dead to save us.
There was, I don't know if it's because like now I also don't want to like prejudge certain people who are religious, because I'm actually opening my mind up to the possibility of like maybe joining like a religion or something like that. I don't know. I have to like research different religions to see if anything like really jives with me. So I don't want to like prejudge people who are religious, but I also wonder if the reason why people who are prone to believing in conspiracy theories sometimes are also religious is because they like the idea of having an explanation to something, like something that they can latch on to. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think it's because that especially with the Q stuff, they made it about good and evil.
Yeah.
You know, so they made it like these are evil satanic people that want to drink the blood of your fucking kids.
It's very like enticing.
Yeah, and it's like especially if you're religious, you're like, oh, this is demonic. Like this is what I've been praying to be, to fight against.
Yeah.
But when you said that like about religion, it made me think because I just I grew up Catholic, and then on my mom's side, and then on my father's side, they're like Christian.
Yeah.
And they go to church, and they're not really Bible thumpers, but they're like they love themselves Jesus, right? And I've been maybe for like the last 10 years, I've been slowly becoming so anti-religion because I started intellectualizing it. And I started looking at all this evidence, and I'm like, well, the Bible thinks the Earth's only 8,000 years old, and man has been on here for hundreds of thousands. Like, how could that be real?
Yeah.
Or why do they celebrate Christmas as Jesus's birthday when in the Bible, the whole nativity scene and everything, you wouldn't be able to do that in December. That's something that would have had to have been done in June, based on the alignment of the stars and the way that it's described. So I'm like, that's not real. And then you find out like Constantine had adapted pagan traditions into the Bible so that they can convert more of them, like all those things. And it made me stray away from the spirituality of it. And recently, I don't know if you know who Jordan Peterson is.
That's so funny you say that, because like he's kind of the person who inspired the idea of like religion. So
the way he talks about it.
There's something about the way he delivers his message. And I think for me, what really spoke to me that really like said it really stuck with me was when he said he's just said act as if God exists. Yes. So like even and that for some reason that really stuck with me, and that made so much sense to me, because it's like even if you don't like, if you can find flaws in every religion, you still need to have some sort of moral code, because then otherwise what the fuck are you doing? And I think that's something that we can all agree on, whether or not we're. And again, now here's the issue. The issue with this, too, is you could say, have a moral code. What about the moral code in some countries that say cut a woman's clit off? What about the moral code that says
throw gays off a roof?
Throw gays off a roof or drive into the Twin Towers. So there are issues here, too.
It's radical.
It's like, what's the right moral code if my moral code is to kill the Jews? Like you know what I mean? Like,
well, most, like, if you talk to most Muslims, every Muslim I've ever talked to thinks that those people are out of their fucking minds. Yeah. Those are like the Jehovah Witnesses of the Muslim world. You know what I mean? Where they're like wear the long dresses and stuff, and it's like people are going to take things to the extreme. But like you said, when Jordan Peterson was talking about act as if, because it's better. It's better. I'm a better person when I have that spiritual mindset. And like, for me, it's Christianity and that's what I'm comfortable with. But like the things that Jesus teaches in the Bible and those lessons, like if you take away the mysticism of it and you just go down to, like you said, the morality of it, how you want to treat other people, how you should look at other people, how you should carry yourself, forgiveness and things like that.
That's the argument that a lot of different religions will make, is that even if you take away religion and you say fuck religion, it's a bunch of bullshit, why do we intuitively have this desire to be moral? Why is that there? And a lot of different religions will argue that that's because it's intuitive, because it's in your soul. It's in your soul. It's there. But then other people argue, well, no, society put them in our heads. You know what I mean? So I don't know what the answer is, but all I know is that either way, I like the idea of abiding to a rational moral code, not one where I kill the Jews or cut off clits or anything like that, but like one where I think we could agree that a rational one would be to treat other people well.
Yeah, 100%.
Take care of yourself. I don't know, if we were to make a moral code right now, what do you think would be on our moral code, like yours?
The golden rule: do unto others as you would want others to do unto you. Love thy neighbor. Like I'm so guilty of this, of like just walking by my fucking neighbor and like, hey, how's it going? And then like being about your life. But if something happens, if there is a natural disaster, your neighbors are going to be the closest people to you. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the people in your immediate area. And that's what I was saying before with like politics. Like we worry so much about the national stage, but we don't take care of the people that are around us in our own, municipality or whatever it is.
I agree with that like 100%. One of my moral codes that I'm kind of creating for myself, because it's like, well, which religion do you follow? You kind of have to like come up with your own moral code or standard for yourself sometimes. One of mine is like, I want to do my work, like whatever it is that my work is, whether it's I teach piano lessons, part-time, I do live music performances, sometimes I do stand-up. That's not so much paid work, but it's still work nevertheless. I want to do that with like my 100% best that I can every time I do it. Like I want to treat my work as if it's like it's something holy. Like I have a mission. But like for example, in the past, when I first started teaching, I had a lot of enthusiasm about it. Like, I'm going to change the world. Then after some time, you start to you lose steam there. Like, you start to get discouraged, like, about if the kids aren't practicing or, like, if you're not getting paid enough. And then you start to become, like, kind of a shitty teacher. But then, like, I kind of had this reawakening lately where I'm like, no, I can't do that. I kind of, like, woke back up and I started taking my job a lot more seriously. And it's now that every time I sit with a kid, it's like, they're getting my attention. I'm going to do whatever I can to help them, even if they annoy me, even if they're shitty little kid who, they misbehave, whatever. Like, it's my job to help them. Sometimes my job isn't even to help them be a better musician. It's just to be a better human. Yeah. Like to have
those interactions you have with people. Yep.
You know what I mean? So like that's been a kind of like a new moral code for me, and it kind of goes exactly what you're saying. It's like we're so worried about stop this, stop these world issues. It's like I can't possibly do all that, but what I could do is help this kid
clean your room.
Like what Jordan I could Peterson do is clean my room. What I could do is help the people around me, help my neighbor. I could make an impact in those ways. And again, like I've been taking so much better care of myself lately. Like I had some like issues with cigarettes over the past year where I was just like, fuck it, like I'm gonna start smoking again. I've been and then lately I'm like, no, you need to sleep well, you need to not smoke because you need a voice that works. Like you need to take care of yourself so every day you could wake up well rested and do your job as best as you could. Like you know what I mean? To me, that's been my moral code lately is like take care of myself so I could give back to others.
I think something else I've been like learning about or I've heard about lately, and I want to look more into it, is like I think we operate at frequencies and then I think like religion and spirituality more than religion, because I think religion gives you the spirituality, like that sets your frequency at the right level. Like I don't know if you know this, but like there's like the churches are designed, when you go inside, the frequency is different. Like inside a church, like the way sound bounces off of a church inside, it's like
that makes sense, because I like anytime I ever sing in a church, it sounds so much better than I sing anywhere else. Like because the way the sound like echoes and the
wavelengths in there. Like a lot of the churches, especially in Europe, they're really old and they're different than any architecture that's around, and it's like, who built that? It doesn't come from the same people that built everything else around it. Didn't build that church. You know what I mean? And I like that whole idea of ancient civilizations. I don't know if you know who Graham Hancock is.
I don't know that. No.
He wrote a book called Fingerprints of the Gods, and he talks about there being a cataclysm, whether it was like a meteor impact. Well, that's what the likely scenario is that there was an impact, but there were more advanced civilizations than we think of. Right now, like modern archaeology dates civilization back to like 10,000 years ago, 11,000 years ago, and they believe that was just hunter-gatherers. And what his assertion is that there was hunter-gatherers, but there were also advanced civilizations that built things like the pyramids and that built, the fucking statue over there. And then there's like a whole other set of pyramids that they found in South America that's like those. But the mathematics behind how they built the pyramids and stuff, it doesn't add up with the technology that people had back then. Like, how do they know that the circumference of the earth is going to match the exact area that the things are built in, or being aligned with true north, and like all that stuff? Like, it's just crazy. I don't even know what I was talking about.
We were talking about it went from it branched off from like the spirituality of, you were talking about like the architecture of a church and the frequency and the vibration
and stuff, and the vibrations, and he was talking about that, and
and you just got on like a side tangent about like the pyramids.
About Grande. We started talking about the pyramids and stuff. Well, because they don't know what they were for. Yeah, they don't know what the pyramids are for.
Wait, explain who the author of this book is and who he is.
Graham Hancock. He's a journalist.
Okay.
That
like alive or
started.
Old?
He's still alive. Yeah, and he just has a show on Netflix called. Oh man, I forgot the name of it. It's like it's probably on the top of the thing, and he just goes over and he's like looking at all these different sites, and he's talking to other archaeologists and the dating back stuff, and things just keep getting older. Like, that's his quote: "This shit just keeps getting older."
Yeah.
Well, who knows what everything comes from?
Yeah. All right, I think we're going about over an hour. Oh damn, we went like an hour and 10 minutes. So. Let me see.
Killing it.
Let's see. Yeah, I know. It felt like that conversation was like 5 minutes, but we just went. we went in. I have some more questions.
Rock 'em.
All right. There's no way to transition into this. We're just going to talk about it. I asked you what your hobbies were. I was like, "What are your hobbies?" And you're like, "Yeah, I like Game of Thrones. I like TV. I went to I was sentenced to go to prison." Like, you just kind of like casually threw that. There. Clearly, that's going to be the that's the more interesting thing that I want to talk about.
I almost transitioned that into that earlier when we were talking about spirituality.
Okay, well now it's time, because like I'm not going to let that slide. Like, okay, by the way, my roommate collects like weapons and stuff, and like when you said, like, I was like gonna make a joke about like, oh shit, there's a guy who was sentenced to prison and we have all these like dangerous weapons in here. Are you gonna be safe, or do we have to?
I brought my own.
Explain, because you seem, every time I've seen you, seem such like a good, happy dude. How does somebody like you, how and what happened?
It's just drug laws.
Okay.
I was never a drug dealer.
Okay.
Right. I was never that was never my job.
Yeah.
But I would. When you're a pothead, the pothead community is a very sharing community.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know if you smoke weed, but
no.
If you were a pothead and I showed up and you smelled pot on me and you're like, "Oh, you smoke?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you smoke." We would become friends. Yeah.
I know people who are potheads. I have nothing against marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that whenever I smoke, I get really paranoid.
It's not for everybody.
It's like, I have nothing against it. Yeah. I just don't enjoy it.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
But potheads, the pothead community, it's very friendly.
Yeah.
Right? So I was 24 years old. I was working at a gas station. I was the assistant manager of the gas station, and I worked the late shift, the overnight shift, and I would smoke weed at work. I would sit on the side of on the gas station at like 2 a.m, smoke a blunt, and then go back inside because nobody was really coming in and out. One of the gas station attendants came up to me and he was like, hey, he came with his friend and he was like, can you get my friend some weed? And I was like, sure. And I had like a dime bag on me. I was like, you want this? You know, I'll give you this. And he was like, no, I'm looking for like a lot more. The thing that I thought of when he said that was like, oh, okay, I'll get you some weed. So I'll get you an ounce of weed for $50 because that was the connect I had at the time. And it was like just the happenstance of it that I had just found this guy and I was like, perfect, I can get you the weed. I'm not even going to make any money off of you. I'm not going to charge you extra. I'm just going to take a few nugs out for myself and then give you the weed. And that'll be like a mutual beneficial transaction. Well, the problem was the guy he was friends with was an undercover Bergen County prosecutor. He was a detective with the prosecutor's office, and he was setting me up because he was in trouble. Why he thought I was a drug dealer, I don't know. But he just took aim at me.
When you were sentenced to prison, did you actually go to prison?
No, I got out. I pretended I was a crackhead, and they sentenced me to drug court.
Okay.
So it was like a get out of jail free card.
Literally.
It was
like you actually get to use that in a
well
sentence.
because it was pretty crazy. Because it was like, think about that transaction that I explained to you. I did that 3 times with him, and each time I just took a little bit of weed. I never made money. I did that 3 times. They wanted to sentence me to 25 years in prison.
25?
That's what. Yeah, I went to court. At this time, I didn't look like I look now. All right, I looked like a thug. I had cornrows that were like halfway down my back. You know, I wore Timbs to. I was 24 years old.
Oh my God.
And I wore Timbs to court. Like khakis and
If you
Timbs.
had gone to prison, like you wouldn't even be, you'd still be there right now.
No, what happened is when I went to court, I didn't have a lawyer. I literally, from what I explained to you, I just thought I was going to get probation. I'd never been in trouble before as an adult. You know, I had a little possession charge for a roach when I was 17, but it was a minor. Yeah. You know, it didn't go on my adult record. So I didn't have a record. I didn't think it was a big deal. Right. But when I went to court and the judge was like, do you have a lawyer? And I was like, no. He was like, you should get one because the maximum sentence for all these charges is 25 years in prison. I almost had a fucking heart attack.
Yeah,
I went straight from court to a lawyer's office and cried like a baby.
Yeah,
because I was like, why do they want to do this to me? I didn't do anything wrong. Like in my mind, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not a drug dealer. When they came to my house to arrest me, and it was like 6 months later, I had stopped talking to that kid because he started asking me for like coke and pills and stuff, and I'm like, I wasn't in that. I was like, nah, and I just stopped talking to him. He like turned me off. Like the kids say now, he was sus, you know, like he just got real sus.
What does that mean?
Like suspect.
Oh, okay.
Right? He's like suspicious. Yeah. So I was like, you know, I stopped fucking with him. Like 6 months later, he comes and knocks on my door the week after I registered for school to take criminal justice courses because me and my friend were going to become cops.
Can you imagine that?
and he knocked on my door, and I opened the door, and there he was with his fucking badge, and I was like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. And they fucking arrested me, and I took the drug court plea, which is an alternative to prison. I was sentenced. My actual sentence was 4 years with 18-month stipulation, which means the minimum that I would do. No, is it the minimum? Or the minimum that I would do, I had to do 18 months. If I went to prison, I had to go for 18 months minimum, or if I fucked around and got, you know, in trouble there, then it would be 4 years maximum. So they suspended that sentence and they put me into this new program. At the time, it was a new experimental program called Drug Court, where instead of going to prison, I went into an inpatient rehab program. So I told them I was doing coke. I was like, I'm ready to do heroin.
So you had to exaggerate in order to
I exaggerated like crazy. Yeah. I went and did coke so that when I tested positive, like when I went to go test, I would test. Like I fucked with drugs. I fucked around with a lot of drugs. Yeah. But I was never addicted to anything else other than smoking weed. Like that was my go-to thing. Like if we were at a party and you had coke, I might do it, you know, or if you had ecstasy pills, I might do it. But that was never my goal. My goal every day was just to smoke weed. So I got into this program. Now I had to do 6 months of inpatient, I was basically a prisoner. Like if I had left the facility, they would have charged me with escaping from jail. So I had to stay in there. So I did the 6 months in the program. I had to wait a few weeks in the county jail until the bed opened up. And I did 6 months in Secaucus, New Jersey, at this program called Turning Point. And it really was a turning point for me because I was a 24-year-old with no ambitions, nothing going in my life. And this was like the best thing that could have happened to me. I was going
to say, I was literally just going to ask you that. Like, there must have been something that came out of this that was actually like a good experience.
Yeah. I got so much therapy. And
such a wild thing to have to go through.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
I got to deal with a lot of things. I got to deal with like the death of my dad. I didn't know I was walking around with so much anger in me and so much unresolved issues. I really learned about addiction. And one thing my brother said to me as we were driving to court the day that I got sentenced and I had to turn myself in, he told me, if you want to beat them, do everything they tell you to do. That's the only way you're going to beat them. Because if you try to resist, and I watched other kids, I watched younger kids than me at the time, 19-year-olds, 20 years old, rebellious, and they didn't do anything but hurt themselves. All they did was get in more trouble. But me, I did everything they told me to do. I did the program. I did all the work. I really, for 5 years, which is how long the program lasted, I would go to AA meetings. I had a sponsor. I worked the 12 steps. I did, which the 12 steps was a great spiritual experience of like, acknowledging a higher power. Yeah, you acknowledge the higher power. You realize that you don't have control over your own life. Like, there's the higher power is in control, and you're just trying to do their will instead of doing what you want to do. Like, you're living a spiritual lifestyle, so you want to do spiritual things that are going to be good for your spiritual being, not just your selfishness. And I took an inventory of all the things, of all resentments that I had and all of the people I thought wronged me. And what I realized was I was a big ass hypocrite, and I was doing all the things to other people that I was mad at what people were doing to me. So I was able to forgive myself. I was able to forgive others. I went to other people and I made amends for all the wrongs that I had, people in my life, cleaned up a lot of relationships. And then I started helping other people. And that was like one of the biggest parts of AA. It's like jiu-jitsu. I'm probably sure it's like the same in music. When you learn music and you learn how to play, you're good. But then when you start teaching other people, it makes you way better.
It forces you to see things from... You teach jiu-jitsu?
No. But I hear people that do jiu-jitsu, like if they start teaching or like karate or something.
It forces you to think of things in a perspective. Like, if you can't explain it to somebody, then you don't know it.
Then you don't know it. Exactly.
Yep.
So that was like helping other people. And just like if you ever had a conversation with somebody when you're really upset and you listen to somebody else's problems, you feel better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you get a perspective on your own situation. So like that's a big part of the AA program and how a lot of people stay clean is because they help other people. And when you're helping other people, you start being grateful for your own situation.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose. And like kind of like bringing it back full circle to like finding the morality and everything and finding the purpose and the reason to even live. It's like, I feel like I don't know. I feel like we kind of learn things collectively. Like, it's funny that we're saying a lot of the, like, thinking a lot of the same stuff because I feel like a lot of people are going through the same things at the same time. I think we're kind of all waking up and coming out of this, like, technological, like, crisis that I think for the past couple of years we've all been very, like, narcissistic and very, like, look at me and look at my, pictures and look at that, like, or whatever, arguing with people. I think we're kind of like, shit, like, where did the love, where did the love go? Like, where did the soul go? Like where, where did the spiritual connections with people go? And I think we're kind of like waking up to that. And I think that's pretty cool that you got to experience that from AA, like learning the value in being there for each other and taking care of other people.
Yeah, especially, and like one of the other like main lessons I got was just doing the next right thing puts you in such a better position for good things to happen to you.
Yeah.
Even when you're struggling with something, when you're like going through tough times, like if you're just doing the next right thing, forget about all of the things that you have to do the next week or tomorrow or next month or paying the rent. Like, all you have to do is the next right thing. What is the next right thing? For me, is to get up and go to work tomorrow. Like, that's the next right thing I can do. Or I can self-destruct and call out and make bad decisions, or I can just do the next right thing. And then after that, the next right thing. And if I just keep that little path, like, you get momentum.
Yeah. And have the patience with it too, like, to understand that it's all
for
gonna
sure.
Pull
it keeps things short too, because that fucks with us a lot too, is when we start thinking about the big picture. And it's like,
I was sleeping like really well, like a baby, the past like couple weeks, and then all of a sudden I started getting anxious thinking about like money. And like once I start, it's like a negative spiral, like a downward spiral. Once I start getting anxious about something, I see it seeping out. Like, then I can't sleep, then I can't. I'm gonna knock myself out with NyQuil tonight just to like retrain, which I know is bad for you. I've had a history of like NyQuil. I love NyQuil. I don't get. Everyone tells me NyQuil is bad for you, but like when you have insomnia and you're not sleeping for a week, like
that's the best thing in the world.
Here's the thing: like, if you use it every day, it's bad. But if you have a week of insomnia and that knocks you back into a new cycle of sleeping, I think it's fucking awesome. It's great.
Yeah, they got ZQuil. You ever see that?
That doesn't work for me.
Doesn't work?
Yeah, they're like, it's non-drowsy. I'm like, the drowsy is...
That's the point. Why do you have Z's in like, it if it's non-drowsy? Fucking liars.
Apparently that puts people to sleep, but I need the drowsy part is the thing that shuts my brain off. Like this thing that's like... You
gotta get your boyfriend to get like one of those fucking darts. While you're sitting there, it's like, oh, you just fucking go down, you wake up feeling nice.
All right, I think we're gonna end it there. I think that was a good lighthearted way to end it, like not end it right in the middle of the prison story.
Yes, the story continues.
There's got to be a flow to this, just like stand up and music and everything else. This is the Pranzata Podcast. If you are new again, let them know where they can follow you, find you, if they want to hear you, if they want to see you, hear you, stalk you.
If you could check out all my live comedy dates. I just spent all morning today updating my calendar and setting it up so it's really easy to check out at vicisfunny.com. You can see my podcast on there, the VCast. You can follow me on Instagram. Vic is funny. I'm going to be a member of
this podcast soon. Not member, a guest on this podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna continue this talk. Yeah. This wonderful talk. Bring the rest of your questions. We'll have a good time.
Write some comments in the section below, in the comment section below, if you want to add to the conversation, debate anything we said, you think we're idiots, you don't agree with us, you love us, like you do agree with us, whatever you have to say, ask some questions and we will do the follow-up conversation on his podcast in a few weeks. And that's it. Pranzata Podcast, episode number 65. Hope you guys had a good night. Bye.